is in the ghetto.
As the populace is mesmerized and hypnotized by powerful behind-the-scenes forces, as they are distracted by the latest celebrity scandal, the newest cell phone, and their favorite sports team, this network disguises itself, remaining in the shadows. Despite the elite utilizing Bernays' methods, in conjunction with the military-industrial complex they had erected, a modern arm of this organization was exposed in what came to be known as the Iran-Contra scandal. Essentially, black operations were not only caught dealing arms illegally and supporting South American dictators, but also smuggling drugs into the United States.
Iran-Contra was really the merging of two different programs. The first one was support for the Contras, who were, let's face it, a force of terrorists in Nicaragua trying to overthrow the Sandinista government. They were being secretly supported by the CIA, and at the bottom of the whole thing was drugs.
Iran-Contra was openly exposed by massive network coverage.
How was it that in 3 years, a network Washington set up to run arms to the Contras wound up running cocaine into this country for the most vicious drug cartel in the world? At the same time, we were supposed to be fighting a war against drugs.
But by the same token, I also smuggle my share of weapons in exchange for those illegal substances, with the full knowledge and assistance of both the DEA and CIA.
Betzner says that in 1983 he flew weapons from Florida to El Salvador and drugs from Colombia to the Bahamas on the way back. In 1984, he says, he flew twice from Florida to Costa Rica and back.
We could bring back our own cargo, and they would arrange it, or we could bring back their cargo without ever having to worry about interception, arrest, anything like this, that everything was taken care of.
What kind of cargo were you talking about?
Drugs.
Tolliver says he had 2 meetings with this man, CIA veteran Rafael Quintero. Then in March of 1986, he says he flew 14 tons of weapons down to Honduras, to this Contra resupply base set up by the CIA.
We take off from Tegucigalpa, Honduras, and we leave.
To?
South Florida.
Where in South Florida?
We landed at Homestead.
Homestead?
Air Force Base.
This is the plane Tolliver says he used. The plane traces to a company that had a State Department contract to fly humanitarian supplies to the Contras.
In addition to that, 3 dozen sources confirm the basic scheme.
We can now report that long before that operation began, there was another operation to provide guns for the Contras, which was also against the law. In this operation, Americans and Israelis provided arms to the Contras, and then the same network smuggled drugs into the United States.
The operation was launched in spring of 1983 at Washington's request, with at least $20 million of Israeli government money later reimbursed, we're told, from U.S. Covert Operations Fund.
For about 5 years, people were flying arms into Iran, and most of them came from Israel.
The Israelis purchased the weapons from Poland and Czechoslovakia and began shipping them secretly from Yugoslavia to Bolivia and then to Panama. The Israeli liaison man there, this man, Michael Harari, until recently a close aide to Panama's strongman, General Manuel Noriega.
You'd bring the ship into Colombia, you would load drugs aboard it, and you would bring those drugs back to Panama with you. But bringing that stuff into the United States, that was something else. I've never been so thoroughly disgusted with myself.
Welcome to the United States of corporate motherfucking America. Gensel, Smith Barney, Merrill Lynch, Bristol Myers, Maytag, Craftmaster, DuPont, MCI, SBC. When they declared a war on drugs, my nigga, they declared war on us. Drug offenders mean more prisoners, and more prisoners mean more prisons built. More wood, more concrete and iron. More trucks, more gas, more hind. Framers, plumbers, electricians, consultants, advisors, technicians. More guards, more guns. Pass more laws to lock up more niggas, and that's more funds. Now they gotta hire more ones. More handcuffs, billy clubs, and stun guns. See, more calls, more CBs and sirens. Most drug offenders is non-violent. It's all corporate. The state ain't the owner. This prison's brought to you by Time Warner.
Reverse agreement with the United States in terms of what they export and where it comes from. But the mere fact that they say that the Tariff Act of 1930 that said that we're not allowed to accept prison labor-produced goods, imported into the country, it should mean that you don't think it's right. And if you don't think it's right, then you need to look in your own backyard and see what you're doing.
Somebody gotta dry the buses out to the sticks. Somebody gotta make the ink for fingerprints. So these companies, they donate to candidates, cash for the ones that's tough on crime in a state. More arrests equal more votes. Pass more laws that hurt more Latin, black, and poor folk. Then cut money for education, so they can spend more on incarceration. The company that fed your kids at lunchtime now feed them when they grown, locked on the child line. About $500,000 in jail for drug charges. It was only 50,000 before Reagan took office. Then he sold guns for dope to the Contras, and crack rock exploded in Oakland and Compton. More niggas locked up as expected. This prison's brought to you by General Electric.
It just seems like they're taking advantage because the mere fact that they don't have overhead in terms of insurance and workers' comp and all these other things, you're getting all these benefits as a result of having the labor. And if you want to say, okay, well, we're training them, we're giving them a skill, we're giving back, it would be one thing. But if you're paying someone 17 cents an hour, that is heinous.
It's a come up, a new slave workforce. Just lock these niggas up and make them work for us. And they like to rap about it, that'll work for us. Market them niggas, help enslave a new workforce. Dope and guns and dope. Keep them high, no hope, broke. And in and out of code, it's all profit. From the dope to the locksmith, machine so big, Jesus Christ couldn't stop it, it's a parable. See the Pharaoh, the president, if Jesus came back, they label him a terrorist. I ain't religious, but I read the scriptures. From what I read, Jesus would have been banging for us niggas in essays. And all poor folk on the struggle, they can lock me up, but the Lord forgive me for the hustle, cause niggas just on some feed they kids shit. Living in the system brought to you by big business.